What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a happy Saturday. It's a little wet and rainy here, but that's okay. We kind of like those gloomy days every once in a while. Nice to just sit inside and get some stuff done around the house. Um, that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into my next video. I'm going through my series on my top 5 favorite window managers, and we have already covered number 5 and number 4 in the previous 2 videos. If you haven't caught those, I recommend going and checking them out and seeing what you think. If you don't want to watch them, we'll give you a brief recap here. Number 5 was Spectre WM, and number 4 was DWM. Now, I say these are in order from 5 to 1, but in all reality, any one of these could be my number 1 window manager. They're all window managers that go on my system regardless of which one I'm living in. I do live in certain ones longer than other ones, but I think any one of these would be a perfect solution for my needs. They all work great. They're all just great programs and great projects, and I recommend any one of them. But this is just kind of the order that I've put them in because, reasons. So today we're going over number 3. And number 3, if you can't tell by looking at my screen, which you might not be able to, for this one, but number 3 is Xmonad. Now, Xmonad was my number 1 for a long time. I lived in Xmonad for quite some time, thanks to DistroTube and his videos on Xmonad. Kind of got me into the world of window managers, and Xmonad was the one he was currently going over on his series when I was getting into it, and so Xmonad was kind of the first one I learned. That being said, it's not one I would really recommend for a first-time user. It is a little bit more difficult to configure and understand due to the fact that it's written in the Haskell programming language. That's not a very common language, not a very popular language, and it's not a very well-read language. A little bit more difficult to understand, takes a little bit more time to figure out what's going on. But that being said, Xmonad is a great window manager. It's got all the basic stuff that I look for in a window manager. It's got the master and stack layout. So if we launch Windows here, we can have master and stack layout. It does have multiple other layouts. If I hit my mod key and I hit tab, you can see I toggled to monocle mode. Floats, and if you look right here, you'll see which mode the windows are in. I have grid, I have tabs, I have spiral, I have 3-column, I have 3-row, and I have accordion, and then we're back to the tall, which is the master and stack. Now, I have all these layouts installed, but if I'm being completely honest, I never use any of them. Master and stack is the layout that I prefer. Master and stack is the layout I use because usually if I have more than one window open on a workspace, it's not going to be more than 2 or 3 windows tops. And so any more than that, I go to a different workspace and start opening up windows there. I've said this before in multiple other videos. I'm going to say it again. Master and stack, I could get away with only having one layout on my machine. But the fact that Xmonad has so many available is really kind of cool because whatever you like for your window layout, you can pretty much have on Xmonad. So it's got the master and stack layout. It has scratch pad functionality, and the scratch pad functionality is spectacular. I love it. You can have as many as you want when you import the scratch pads library, which we'll go over here in a minute. But you can have scratch pads for your terminal. I have scratch pads for mail. I have scratch pads for my hotkeys. I have scratch pad for a calculator. I just have scratch pads for all kinds of stuff. And if you've watched my channel for any period of time, scratch pads are kind of a must for me. And the way that Xmonad handles them is just, it's great. A little bit more difficult to figure out, like I said, due to the fact that the configuration file is written in Haskell. But once you get it figured out how to do it one time, you can just duplicate that. I like the fact that you can have the windows in different locations. So if I hit Mod Shift I for my void source packages, you can see I have it launching on the right side of the screen. Mod Shift D, my launch menu launches in the middle. Mod Shift C, my closeout menu launches in the middle. So I can have things different sizes and different locations. So window geometry and window placement on the floating windows is something that is handled very well in Xmonad. So that is another reason I like it. The other stuff I like about it is, and while I might not use a lot of this stuff, I just like the fact that it's available and you can do it. If I hit Mod T, that opens up this grid select menu. And if I want to open Firefox, I can just hover on Firefox. If I want to change my wallpaper, or if I want to open Brave, we come up here to Brave, we click on that, and we're going to open an instance of Brave. No, we're not, because I'm on Void and I haven't changed that. When you want to launch Void, or when I want to launch Brave on Void, I have to type Void or Brave browser stable, because that's what it launches as, not just Brave. So let's try that again. So say I want to launch, we'll do Qt Browser. We'll launch Qt Browser. We just click on that, and Qt Browser opens up. So it's kind of neat. There's also another menu. If I hit Mod Shift T, then I can get this tree select menu, which is cool. So if we just hit right, we can open up the different tabs, and we can, let's say I want to open up, let's do Alacrity. So we click on Alacrity and we open an Alacrity terminal. This menu is pretty customizable. You can have it centered, you can have it over here, you can have it up in the corner, you can change the colors of everything, the descriptions. It is all completely extensible and completely changeable. So it's kind of a cool setup there, the way that works. So like I said, Xmonad just has so much going on for it. You can customize to your heart's content with this, as long as you can figure out and get your mind wrapped around the Haskell programming language. So let's go ahead and launch and go into the configuration file real quick. Now this is where Xmonad gets some, I don't want to say bad marks, but some lower marks than some of my other favorite window managers. Well, there's a lot you can do with Xmonad. If you look at the length of the configuration file, if we go to the last line, 706 lines. So GG back up to the top, and you see these first, I don't know how many lines, 30, 40, 60, boy, 70. Let's see here. So the first like 70 lines, because there's some spaces in there, but about the first 70 lines or so is importing different libraries, importing different modules to be able to have this functionality with Xmonad. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that makes for a lot of stuff on your machine. It makes for a lot of system updates when you go to do updates. I mean, there's times that I'll update, and then a couple days later or weeks later or whatever, I'll look at it and I'll go to do an update, and Xmonad has like 250 updates for the different modules and stuff like that. That might be a bit more than, but you get the point. There's a lot of stuff that you have to pull into Xmonad to be able to get this functionality. Now, if you're not concerned with that, then by all means, I'm obviously not, but it is one of the things that when you compare it to something like a Spectre WM or whatever, where you kind of just have your functionality built into the window manager, and you don't have to import all this stuff. Makes for a smaller footprint, whereas Xmonad has a pretty large footprint. But again, that being said, that makes for a window manager that is completely extensible and completely customizable. You go through here and you've got your auto start setups here. So you spawn once and you do your auto starts. Here's my scratch pad lists right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. I've got my scratch pad lists here. So I've got a scratch pad for my terminal, for Ranger, for my launch menu, for my calculator, for my mail, to edit configuration files, for my hotkeys, for my logout menu, and for my void source packages installer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 scratch pads, and I could have 100 more if I wanted to. And they can all be different, which is really cool. So when you set up the scratch pad, you just have this little system set up like this, and you go through and you can set up your scratch pads. Now, I'm just briefly going through my configuration file here. I'm not going to break down how to do each and every individual little thing and go through actually setting it up, but I'm just going to kind of go through and give you an idea of how long this massive configuration file is. This is the grid select menu. So if I hit Mod T, that's this menu right here, is set up right here with all this. This is the grid. This X prompt is basically Xmonad's own kind of D-menu style prompt. It's a run launcher. You can just use that, and it kind of you can launch programs from it. I don't use it because I have my launch script that I use, but it is kind of neat that Xmonad has that built-in functionality. This is the tree select. So if I do Mod Shift T, this menu right here, this tree select menu, this is the configuration for doing that. You can see there's a bit that goes on with building that menu, but it is completely extensible and you can have whatever you want to in it. This is the stuff that's on the menu up here, and this is the physical kind of UI, the way it looks. Then we go down here and we have our hotkeys. So we have hotkeys set up here. Again, if I hit Mod H, this is going to show my list of hotkeys. So you see Mod Control Q is going to launch Q browser. Mod Shift A is going to launch Firefox. Mod Shift N is going to launch Nixt. So there's just different things that, or there's just my different hotkeys that, my key bindings that are available on my Xmonad setup. Excuse me. Boy, I still got a little bit of junk in my head from being sick, so I apologize. This here is works with workspaces for Xmobar, and then this gives you an idea of what you can do with your workspaces. Like you can see, mine are icons. So if you want the icons, you can have icons here. If you want to have just names for the workspaces, you can do that. And if you want to have numbers, you can do that as well. This right here makes my workspaces clickable. So if I go up here and just click on these as opposed to actually doing mod 1, mod 2, mod 3, that will take me to the different workspaces. This is some manages hooks for Windows. So do shift will open windows like OBS, Kdenlive, Simple Screen Recorder. It says do shift workspace 8. Well, this starts counting at 0, so it's actually workspace 9. So if you count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So anytime I launch OBS or Kdenlive or Simple Screen Recorder, it's going to open up on workspace 9. You can see workspace 9 is actually occupied right now with Simple Screen Recorder in this recording. So that's where those ones open. LibreOffice is going to open on workspace 6. So anytime I open LibreOffice, it's going to shift and open on workspace 6. Down here is your window layouts. So I have tall, like I said, and then I have monocle and floats and grid. All those different layouts we went through, they're all set up and declared right here. And then you add this down here for the tabs. So my tabs layout, you can add the font name and the colors and stuff like that. And then down here is the layout hook. So this kind of goes through the list of the different layouts that you have set up. After that, we have the main, which is actually what we use to set up and call for Xmobar. It calls your mod mask, your terminal, and it just kind of goes through and basically is your main, I guess, function. I don't know. Again, I am not a programmer. I really don't know what everything is called in the Haskell programming language. I just know this is the main section of your configuration file, and you use this section like all of my Xmobar. This is where it's called. So it spawns xmproc, spawn pipe Xmobar, and then the path to my configuration file. And then it goes through and handles like your layouts and your workspaces and your borders and stuff like that. And then also down here, it sets up your wrap for your workspaces. Like, see, I have the star showing that I have an occupied workspace. I have 2 exclamation points if there's an urgent workspace. This sets up the colors for the foreground and background of the workspaces, and actually sets here the PP order, which is right now I have set to workspace and then the layout. But you can have like window title, or not window title, but title, and how many windows are open on a workspace and everything like that up here as well. So that's kind of the configuration file. It's massive. It is a little bit confusing because it is written in the Haskell language. So if you're not familiar with it, actually getting into this is a little bit difficult. But it is, like I said, extremely extensible and extremely customizable. If we actually go over to workspace 3, and let's go ahead and launch Xmobar. This is the configuration file for my bar up here for Xmobar. You can see there's not a whole lot going on with it. It basically has the font, the background and foreground color, the position of the bar, the transparency of the bar, and then a few different things here for lower on start, hide on start, all desktops, whatever else. And then we have right here this icon root. I have at home jake.xmonad.xpm, which I have 4 different icons and stuff, like this right here and this right here. I use XPM icons to have up there, which is really kind of cool because with Xmobar, you can make it completely yours, 100%. You can see down here is the template. So I have void1 XPM, which is going to be this icon right here. And then I have a little bit of a space, and I have font color A8, A7, A6, comma 181818. So that's foreground and background for the icons here. And then I have, let's scroll down here and let's just jump forward here. I have this font color, same thing, foreground and background, and then I have my update script, which to add individual things in your bar up here, you just have a little section here that you say run, and I have run command YouTube subs.sh, which is going to be this module right here. It shows me how many YouTube subscribers I have. And then right here is how often it runs. And then down here, you call that, like right here, I call YouTube subs.sh in my configuration file in my template here, and it prints out up here. Now what I like about this is, let's go over to 4 here. Let's go ahead and open and cd, actually let's do in Ranger, and let's go to .xmonad and then xpm. And if we scroll down, I have a couple things to show you here. I just created in GIMP, and I used just a little deal here. And so you can see I've just got this little, sorry about the brightness, this little half circle right here, right? So that's right round. And then I have right here, if you look, I have left round. So I want to kind of show you how this works, because it's really kind of neat. So if we go down here and say I want to make this an oval. Well, all we got to do is we go over here and we find the updates section, which is right here. You see it says updates. Let's zoom in a little bit. Right here it says updates. So if I want to add that icon that I created in GIMP and saved as an XPM, basically I think it's bitmap, XPM, it's a style of bitmap, but if I do less than, and I do icon equals, and then I do left round .xpm, because that's already located in this directory right here. And then I do slash, forward slash, and then greater than, and I hit right, and then we pkill trayer and we restart Xmonad, then you can see I've got half of that circle right there, right? Well, now let's go ahead and change the background color here, and let's change it to, let's see here, 005F87, I think is the color. And then let's add the back half of the circle right here, and let's do icon equals right round .xpm. Right round, you spin me right round, baby, right round like a record, baby. Sorry, that just jumped into my head there. But if we do that and we do the right round half of the icon and we write, and then we pkill trayer and we restart Xmonad, and we've changed that background color. Now you can look and see we've got a complete oval around this. We've completely customized the way Xmobar looks by using our own created icons that we can put up here and make whatever we want to. So the ability to do that in Xmobar is really cool, and it is another one of the functions and the reasons that I love Xmonad so much. Now Xmobar can be used with other window managers, but I just feel like Xmonad with Xmobar is just like kind of like almost the perfect setup. So the ability to customize both of them, Xmobar and Xmonad, makes it a great program and one of my favorite window managers for that reason. Now, customization and everything aside, what I really don't care for about Xmonad is the configuration language. The Haskell language is very difficult, so it is not an easy one for people to pick up. Luckily, Xmonad has some really good documentation. If we go to their website, xmonad.org, you can read all about stuff. We've got Xmonad features and why use it, what's new. We've got getting started, and we've got documentation. Well, if we click on the documentation, it takes you to this page here. We've got the facts, you've got wikis, you've got Xmonad contrib. Oh, which by the way, when you install Xmonad, you're going to want to install Xmonad contrib as well, because you're going to need to have all this extra third-party stuff to be able to do a lot of the customization you want to do with Xmonad. Now you have getting started, which is about installing Xmonad. You have a guided tour and you have a configuration tutorial. So if you click over here, this is the contrib like I was just talking about. So this is all the different extra things you're going to want, like cycling windows, DWM promote, float keys, actions, you have a launcher, you have on screen. So this is all kind of the extra stuff when we look at this right here, this import. A lot of these are going to be the Xmonad contrib packages. So you want to make sure you do that. But again, if we go to the configuration tutorial, you can click on that link, and this actually gives you a complete walkthrough on configuring, installing Xmobar, customizing Xmonad. It kind of gives you a good breakdown on how to do things. Again, is a lot of reading. There's a lot to go through and a lot to understand, but it is there. So the documentation for Xmonad is good if you actually are one who takes time to sit down and read and understand stuff. So there's plenty of documentation there. When it comes to Xmonad, you have the Xmonad website. You also have the Xmonad and the Haskell wiki that are going to help you out immensely. And then for Xmobar, you have xmobar.org, which kind of breaks everything down for you here too. It's a minimalistic style or status bar. It goes through breaking news, it goes through installation, running Xmobar, writing your own Xmobar in Haskell. So going through and being able to do all this is achievable with the documentation that's provided. But again, being Haskell, it is a little bit more difficult than something like Python or something like that. So where Xmonad loses a few points with me is in its documentation and its configuration file language. That might not stop a lot of people, which is great because it didn't stop me. Like I said, it was the first one that I learned how to actually configure and everything, thanks to DT and DistroTube's videos on setting up Xmobar and Xmonad. His was a great resource, and just the fact that he's available and has all that really, really helps the documentation for Xmonad and Xmobar. But that being said, that is my number 4 pick, or excuse me, my number 3 pick. Xmonad, great window manager, highly extensible, highly customizable, difficult to figure out based on the Haskell language, but once you can kind of get your brain wrapped around it, there's just so much you can do with it, and it's such a great project as a whole, Xmonad and Xmobar, that I think there's few window managers that you can do as much with. It might be a larger footprint, it might have more on your system than a lot of the other window managers, but if you're willing to trade that for the amount of extensibility and customization you have with it, I think Xmonad is a great way to go. It is still one I highly recommend, not so much to the newer users, but if you're willing to get your hands dirty and get in and sit down and really figure things out, I highly recommend it. So that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Look forward to my number 2 and number 1 videos coming out in the next few days. And thank you for sticking with me through this time of me being sick and everything. It's been kind of a long road getting myself healthy again, but I think I'm just about there. So that being said, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. God bless.